What's up, brothers and sisters? It's your brother G World 7_D. Here's the book, Brian and Fagin, Ancient North America. Alright, and this is the 4th edition. Okay, I'm going to go to page, I want to say 457. Alright, now I've shown this book before, but I really didn't read out of it. 457. Read this first right here. When you study ancient America, you study Negro history. Mississippian climax. Over 6,000 years of continuous gradual cultural evolution in the Midwest and the Southeast accumulated in one of North America's most brilliant achievements, the Mississippian tradition, with its great centers and myriad smaller communities. The complex patchwork of chiefdoms, large and small, flourished for about 6 centuries, up to European contact and beyond. The Mississippians' ultimate cultural and social roots lie in much early archaic and woodland cultures that flourished long before maize agriculture, before widespread in the great river valleys of the eastern woodlands. I'm going to turn further down. Right. You have the Great Serpent Mound. The Great Serpent Mound over in Ohio. Here's an individual grazing corn. Now, as you can tell, that's a Negro woman. These were so-called black people. This not even up for debate. It really isn't. All right. Do not listen to these jackasses telling you that you come from slaves from Africa. Stop listening to that foolishness. All right. Most so-called black Americans who had their deep roots in the South come from the remnants of these cultures in the South. Mississippian politics, Cahokia and Moundville. The ancient societies that are closely classified under the label Mississippian flourished over a wide area of Midwest and South, enjoying complex cultures that vary widely from one location to the next. Most Mississippian communities were small, many of them grouped into a multiplicity of chiefdoms that were probably in a constant state of political flux as the following of important individuals waxed and waned. Chiefs died, alliances were forged and fell apart, and new people came into prominence. But there are some Mississippian centers that appear to have nurtured more complex social and political structures. The most famous of these are Cahokia in the American Bottom on the Mississippi River opposite St. Louis and Moundville in Alabama. These centers raise important questions about the complexities of Mississippian societies, about the political organizations of most elaborate of all ancient North American centered cultures. Cahokia, the American Bottom, is a pocket of low-lying river floodplain along the Mississippi from the confluence with the Illinois River near Alton, Illinois, past DuPont, as far south as Chester, Illinois. The bottom only about 25 miles from the north to the south and 11 miles wide at its greatest extent. It was formed by the meanderings of the Mississippi and Missouri River channels over the flatlands, forming swamps and oxbow lakes in its abandoned channels. The result was an environment of exceptional diversity, rich in aquatic resources, game, and vegetable foods. A floodplain with fertile soils lying on the borders of several ecological zones. It was here that Cahokia flourished, was probably the highest ancient population density north of Mexico. Cedar tree villages existed at or near the Cahokia site after AD 600, but the huge mound and plaza complex we see today was built between the 11th and 13th centuries. For these 3 centuries, hitherto dispersed rural population was suddenly transformed into a much more tightly integrated society, partly by manipulating communal religious symbolism. Yet Cahokia only held sway over a small area of the American Bottom, a vortex of close-knit regional phenomena. Okay, an area in Illinois and Missouri that encompasses an area of some 60 to 90 miles, form its core in the bottom. Although Cahokia-like artifacts and ideas spread much further afield, far north into the Midwest, Cahokia emerged as a regional capital with dramatic subtleness, not as a result of external trade or gradual cultural evolution, but through a complicated and still little understood process of political and social negotiation. which melded new political realities with the everyday lives of communities and households. A new generation excavations and foot surveys and more precise local chronologies have documented abrupt changes in household refuse and crab production. Also in the regional settlement pattern during the 2 or 3 decades around AD 1050. Instead of early Mississippian villages, hamlets, and farmstead, a new three-tier settlement hierarchy suddenly appears. A great capital at Cahokia, several small political and administrative centers, and rural homesteads in the northern part of the floodplains, a diverse and highly organized settlement pattern. Okay, I'm going to show you. Look at this. Look at that little serpent little weight right here. And obviously mounds. Get it clear. Even it's like this. Some of these structures that are here. Always, like I told you, lots of times they had man-made rivers and lakes, different causeways, walkways that they able to travel within. You know, they was constantly building, man, and constantly growing and constantly reading the stars. All right, here we go again. I'm gonna read this part. Cahokia's population suddenly rose fivefold a few decades after AD 1050. Hundreds of people were resettled in small and large villages, even at some distance from Cahokia. This complex process involved political negotiation, the use of force, and carefully orchestrated integrative strategies that foster a common interest between the center and the periphery, between chief and villager, imposing public structures and shrines, sweat houses, common art traditions, and the promotion of carefully chosen community traditions. All may have been symbols that linked elite and commoner in display of common cultural meanings and values that helped create a regional chiefdom that combined Cahokia's authority with ancient community interests. The result was short-lived, imposing polity that lasted a century and a half were competing factions and periodic inabilities to mobilize community labor fashioned an inherently unstable chiefdom that appeared and dissipated with bewildering speed. After AD 1100, Cahokia's population gradually tapered off over the next century and a half as people migrated outward from the American bottom and more dispersed settlement patterns again prevailed. By the time Cahokia was virtually deserted, but it had once been a magnificent capital at the height of its power. Between AD 1050 and 1250, Cahokia exists over an area of more than 3.8 square miles, 10 square kilometers. Some 200 acres of the vast area were covered with dwellings. The population possibly ranged from as little as 3,000 to as many as 16,000, but as any estimate at a higher end of the scale are pure guesswork, with many people living elsewhere on the floodplains and in the surrounding uplands. All right. I'm going to skip down a little bit. The Cahokia people erected more than 100 earthen mounds over the centuries, mounds of various sizes, shapes, functions, and an apparently carefully planned layout. Most of them cluster along the central ridge of the site, the driest, higher ground in the vicinity. They are grouped around a series of what must have been an open plaza. The most extensive grouping lies around Monk's Mound, the largest earthworks built by the ancient North Americans. Monk's Mound was built of 4 level stages starting before AD 1000 and ending some 3 centuries later. The mound is 100 feet high, measures 1037 by 790 feet, and covers 16 acres. The builders, probably teams of villagers supervised by expert mound builders, heap up more than 21,700,000 cubic feet of earth in baskets to erect this vast tumultuous. The entire earthwork would have taken a theoretical 370,000 work days to complete, with additional days for contouring and finishing the mound. The mound builders were concerned to prevent slumping and erosion from heavy rainfall. Recent excavation of the second stage following a slump caused by heavy rain showed that this platform was built between about AD 1000 and 1100. An occupation surface of sandy loam covered the stage when it was in use. The underlying strata, comprising basket loads of earth taken from other parts of Cahokia, much of it from occupation middens. However, the builders stabilized the growing mound, placing thousands of basket loads in a structured dome that supported the looming covering. Architects also alternated bands of sand and clay to prevent the deposits from becoming unruly waterlogged. Okay, and I'm going to skip a little bit over, and it's Cahokia. I'm gonna skip a little over. Moundsville. Do this real quick. Moundsville, Cahokia was by far the largest Mississippi community, but its power declined after AD 1250 when other large towns achieved prominence. Moundsville lies by the Black Warrior River in the west central Alabama and flourished between AD 1250 and 1500. Named after the Black Chief. All right, I'm gonna let you know that. Named after the Black Chief. The site, with its 29 or more earthen mounds, covers more than 185 acres. All right, the larger mounds delineate at a quadrilateral plaza of about 79 acres, some supporting public buildings or residences for important individuals. A few associated with skull catches, with a sweat house and charnel structure lying just outside the southern side of the plaza, which is orientated on the cardinal directions. Mound B is the highest, with an altitude of about 56 feet. Higher status people lived and were buried east of the mounds on the eastern side of the plaza. The three sides of the site, always from the river, were protected by a battalion and a much rebuilt palisade during some mound-varied history. As at Cahokia, hundreds of the people lived within the general site area, perhaps as many as 100 souls. Altogether, 3,051 burials have been excavated at Moundsville, with the leader being discovered in the mounds. People of a lesser status were buried in the major village area around the northern boundary of the site. All right, and I'm going to pretty much stop there. But I just want to show you that most so-called Black Americans are descendants of these mound-built people. You know, you can obviously tell the hands across the chest. Image of the Negro, if I can get without the shine right here. See, images of Negroes over here in the Mississippian culture. All right, these are obviously Negroes. Facial scarification. These are obviously Negroes. These obviously were our people. All right, these are obviously, you've seen this image, you know, this image you see over in Egypt, you know, but our people were all over the globe. All right, most of you Negroes who claim they're from Africa actually are from this Mississippian culture, man. Descendants of that Mississippian culture. You're not from no African slaves. Most of you not. Okay, that's a lie. All right, many people don't want to hear that. I don't care. Most of you are descendant of a lot of this Mississippian culture. Period. It's not my opinion. That's what it is. But unfortunately, we have been brainwashing this African tip, man. And we have more of a history than coming from Africa. I'm probably going to read some more out of this book, Ancient North America, Brian Fagan. All right. Now, I've shown you this book before, like I said, but I was just showing you stuff from the Southwest and those doggone cliff dwellings, which I told you are similar to what the Malians have over in West Africa today. It's the same damn thing because they're the same damn people. So you have various different so-called black groups here in America building great civilization, building great structures. And they use the riverbeds to travel in and out. And then you carry large goods, stuff that they need to build, so they can just, once they get off the riverbed, off the water, they can just walk over, and it'll be an easier walk for them to go to the site where they're building it. All right. The information's there, but you're gonna have to want to seek it. You can't allow these mainstream Negroes to teach you anything. At these HBCUs, they're not teaching you anything. They teach you that you're a slave from Africa. That's all they teach you. Henry Louis Gates Lewis Henry Gates, what that coon name is. He just teach you that you're a slave from Africa. That's sick, man. But these Negroes have been paid off, and they're funded. A lot of these schools, like these HBCU schools, are funded, government funded, man. These people don't represent us, man. And the education system, like I said, sucks. So this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna be miseducated. And unfortunately, so many of these Negroes get these degrees and walk around with their chest sticking out and they brag about their fraternity or their Messianic lives, whatever. Most of them are silly ass smiling, buck dancing coons. That's all they are, man. And they're very ignorant, but they're very arrogant because they think they know something when in reality they don't know anything. You hear it in the people like that Lady Boulay chick who really don't know what the hell she's talking about, but she want to attack people who want to identify themselves as more indigenous or aboriginal or whatever. She want to attack them. And you got these other Negroes on YouTube like Consciously, Home Team History, From Nothing, these other clowns, Amon Ra Squad, all these bozos, man, because they teach you that you're descendant of African slaves. No, you had great empires here, going from Canada all the way down to Argentina. I'm repeating again, going from Canada all the way down to Argentina, you had great black empires here in the Americas, but these dumb Negroes will not teach you nothing because they haven't researched anything. They're just going by what their so-called master teachers have taught them. Most of them were wrong, or they're going by what their white teachers have taught them in these damn schools, or their Negro teachers were taught by white folks. Period. So I want you to continue to go ahead and continue to do your own research, man. Study the black empires of the Southeast from what we now call areas of Louisiana and going back over to the Floridas. Yeah, going from the Floridas up to what we now call New York or into Canada and all through the Midwest, hell, even through the West, originally. Because I mentioned before, you had those Olmec-like structures in Alberta, Edmonton. So they was in Canada too, building and carving into rock. Simple people don't do that. That takes a high, great skill, a great type of Messianic work of cutting into stone, cutting into rock. And I talked about before how these Negroes cut into rock globally. So this is an ancient technology that was known, that was spread across the damn globe. Stop allowing these goofballs to tell you that you're descendant of African slave. Don't call yourself no ADOS, man. Don't call yourself these names. Or no freedmen. Your history goes way beyond that. Your history is rich. And you get these goofy Negroes who sit there and say, well, they black, they'll mean they black like Negro. They sound like that when you used to say that about ancient Egypt. Or they black skin, but they're not Negro black, they're Caucasian. That's nonsense, man. When anyone start talking that nonsense, you just dismiss them right there. The original people here were so-called Negroes. And there's so much information. It's a wealth of information. But you're going to have to study and know and comprehend what you're reading and stuff. Because it gets frustrating because there's a lot of game playing with these bastards to do. They put fake pictures and fake photos up. And then when you start reading deeper, it doesn't make any sense because those people they push it proper enough don't look like the people who actually were there. So I'm trying to tell you this, brothers and sisters, learn your true history. Stop listening to these foreigners telling you about your history, even foreigners with melanated skin. Study your true history. Learn who you really are. Peace and love. This is brother G World.